I still remember the smell of that courthouse old polished wood mixed with nervous sweat and too much cologne. I wasn't supposed to be anyone special that day, just another guy in a white shirt and dark tie waiting to give my testimony. People looked right past me like I was invisible, and honestly, I'd gotten used to that. But under the collar, hidden from everyone's eyes, hung the small piece of steel that told a different story, a worn dog tag I'd carried through deserts, oceans, and sleepless nights. He came at me loud even before the judge walked in. "Eyes down, you hear me?" The sergeant barked, voice dripping with the authority he thought he owned. His name was Cole Branson. Big man, heavy boots, a steel baton swinging at his side like an extension of his ego. He leaned in close, his breath sour with rage. "You think you're above me," he hissed. I looked straight at him, calm as a pond before a storm, and said quietly, "This is a courtroom, Sergeant, not your street corner." That was it, the spark. His face went red, his jaw twitching. I could feel the whole room lean forward, waiting for me to flinch, waiting for me to fold. Instead, I crossed my arms tighter and stared at the clock on the wall. He jabbed the baton at my forehead. "On your knees," he spat. His words cut through the air like barbed wire. In that moment, time stretched. I remembered nights in training when you're pushed to your breaking point and told to hold the line anyway. I wasn't about to give this man the satisfaction of watching me bend. The judge's gavel cracked once, but the sound barely registered. People shifted uneasily, some gasped, and one older man in the back whispered, "This is supposed to be the house of law." My heart beat steady. I kept my hands visible, my breathing slow. Cole swung the baton downward fast and hard. My body moved on instinct, just a half turn, a small step, and his strike cut through empty air. In that split second, my dog tag slipped free, glinting under the harsh lights. The whole room saw it. An old vet in the second row squinted and muttered, "That's a trident." Navy SEAL, the whisper spread like wildfire. Cole froze just long enough for the judge to slam the gavel again. But it was too late. The room had shifted. Phones shot up, cameras blinked, and the weight of his authority started to crumble. Boots thundered down the hallway, measured disciplined, not frantic. The big double doors swung open, and a line of military police stepped in Captain Rivera at the front, holding a sealed order high enough for everyone to see. Their uniforms looked out of place in that wooden chamber, but their presence cut through the chaos like a blade. Cole's knuckles went white on the baton handle. Captain Rivera's voice rolled across the room, calm but final. "This courthouse is now under joint jurisdiction." The MPs fanned out their boots, echoing off marble, and the air shifted from panic to something heavier, accountability. I kept my voice level. "Captain, please make sure everything's transparent. Every second, every word. No more shadows." He nodded once. "Chain of custody begins now." The whole room exhaled like a balloon deflating. But Cole wasn't done. Even with soldiers closing in, he jabbed a finger at me. "Don't fool yourself," he snarled. "That little tag won't save you." His voice cracked on the last word. The crowd caught it. Phones rose higher. A woman whispered, "He hasn't even hit back." That's the thing people don't understand. Sometimes not striking is the strongest move you've got. My father used to say, strength isn't about how hard you hit. It's about how long you can hold steady under fire. Then came Owen, the young clerk who'd been quiet in the back. He walked forward, pale and shaking a small USB drive clutched in his hand. "I can't stay silent anymore," he said. His voice cracked but carried. "These are the originals." He set the drive down, and the click of plastic on wood echoed louder than a gunshot. The screen flickered to life, body cam footage from years ago. Cole's voice filled the speakers, shouting slurs, swinging that same baton, grinning like it was all a game. The crowd gasped. Someone covered their mouth. The judge's hand trembled on the gavel. And me, I just sat there breathing slow, watching the truth unspool frame by frame. Outside the courthouse, people were already gathering, holding up signs, live streaming on their phones. A hashtag was born before the footage even finished playing, "The Man Who Stood Still." It rolled across timelines like thunder. Cole's union tried to float a deal. An apology reduced charges, sweep it under the rug. Tara Kim, my attorney, didn't even let them finish. "Transparency isn't for sale," she said, her voice sharp enough to slice the air. The gallery erupted in applause. But the real gut punch came when the MPs recovered a scorched hard drive from behind the precinct. Financial records memos, shredded reports. A list of names, not just Cole's, layers of command, supervisors, even a deputy commissioner. It wasn't one bad apple, it was a whole orchard. Captain Rivera dialed the DOJ right there in the chamber. "We're opening a joint operation immediately," he said. His words landed like hammers. Federal investigators rolled in within hours. Warrants hit precincts. Safes cracked open. The paper shields started falling apart. Through it all, I stayed quiet. Not because I was scared, but because I'd learned a long time ago that silence can be a weapon if you know how to hold it. Then the letter came from Washington. They wanted me to testify before Congress. I didn't wear a uniform. I didn't bring medals. Just the same dog tag under the same white shirt. I sat at the microphone, the whole country watching, and said, "Discipline is strength, not a chain." I restrained myself in that courtroom because the law has to be stronger than fists. If we abandon that, we abandon everything. I told them we needed body cameras that can't be erased, bias training that isn't optional, and evidence systems that don't disappear inconvenient truths. I didn't yell. I didn't preach. I just spoke like a man who's seen enough to know what happens when power goes unchecked. Families sat behind me clutching photos of loved ones who'd been ignored. Senators leaned forward, their pens frozen mid-note. And outside, people chanted, "Justice is not a privilege, it's a right." While I spoke, news broke that two high-ranking officers had been arrested, names from the list we'd uncovered. The chamber gasped. Some clapped, others just stared. I didn't react. My hands just tightened slightly on the table. The web was finally unraveling. Later that night after the hearing, Tara got a voicemail. A voice she didn't recognize whispered, "Watch the hand behind the curtain." That's when we knew it wasn't over. Cole had been stripped of his badge, his weapon sealed, his power gone. But the shadow behind him, the system that fed him, was still moving. I'm telling you all this not because I'm proud, but because I want you to understand how close we came to losing it all. How a man with a baton and a badge almost rewrote my life, and how a single glint of steel under a collar changed the entire room. People ask me why I didn't fight back, why I didn't swing, why I didn't reach for the gun when he reached for his. And the answer is simple. I've been in war zones. I've seen what happens when you let anger drive the shot. I wasn't going to let him write my story as another aggressive suspect. Strength isn't in the strike, it's in the stillness before it. That's what my years of training taught me. That's what I want you to remember. By the time the trial came around, Cole sat slumped, stripped of his badge, his defense crumbling. He tried to explain that my stare threatened him, that my calmness provoked him. The jury wasn't buying it. They'd seen the footage, heard the slurs, read the emails. They recommended full prosecution on every charge. The gavel came down hard, and for the first time in years, the law actually felt like it belonged to everyone in that room. When I walked out of that courthouse, the air smelled different. Not clean, not fixed, but changed. Protesters lined the steps, chanting my name, holding signs that read, "Don't call anyone an object again." People cried, hugged strangers, handed me letters. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a man who'd finally put down a weight he had been carrying for years. And still, I know it's not over. You can burn hard drives, shred paper, threaten people online, but truth leaves a trail. It always does. That's why I said yes to Congress. That's why Tara keeps filing motions. That's why Captain Rivera keeps pushing warrants. Because if we don't follow through, this whole thing becomes just another headline. I'm not here to give you a speech. I'm here to tell you how it felt to sit there while a man called me trash, swung a baton at my head, reached for his gun, and to hold still anyway. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff with the wind trying to push you off and knowing the only way to survive is not to move. Now I want to ask you something. What would you have done if someone with power over you threatened you, struck you, tried to bury you? Would you stay silent? Would you fight back? Would you pull out your phone? Tell me in the comments. Tell me if you've ever seen something like this where you live. Because silence protects abusers, but stories blow their cover. That's why I'm telling mine. Not to be a headline, but to be a reminder. Justice doesn't live in a badge or a bench. It lives in us, in how we hold the line when everything pushes us to break. So if you're watching this right now, don't just scroll past. Comment below. Share what you've seen. Speak up for someone who can't. Because the moment you do, the curtain starts to lift and the hand behind it has nowhere left to hide.